All right, this one right here is for my Christians, my brothers and my sisters out there who have received the knowledge of truth in their heart. They already believe that with the help and the guidance of God's Holy Spirit, you can stop sinning. You already believe this. So this is the group of people I'm speaking with. You are still sinning against God, but yet you still believe and have faith that He will free you from that sin that you're committing from time to time. So if we can go to Hebrews chapter 12, I want to start at verse 3, but let's remember verse 1 when it says, "Let us lay aside every weight in the sin which doth so easily beset us." Let's keep that in mind, that we are commanded to lay aside every weight in the sin which does so easily beset us. So keep that in mind as we look at the other verses. In verse 3 it says, "For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds." So when you commit that sin and you feel that deep sorrow within your heart, don't faint and get weary. Don't faint in your mind. Remember what Jesus Christ had already done for you. That's what the Hebrew writer is saying. Remember how Jesus Christ has suffered for you. All that pain and agony that He endured and died on a cross so that you can live. That right there, that thought alone should be enough to pick you back up so that you can continue walking in the faith. If you can recall 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 1, it says, "For as much then as Christ hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin." Keep that close to your heart. That's a promise you must keep close to your heart. For Christ has suffered in the flesh for you. Now what you're going through, that pain and agony you feel in your heart when you commit that sin, that is a suffering you're enduring in your flesh. But then it says, He hath ceased from sin. So you will stop sinning. You just must move forward. Pick yourself back up and press forward. You will stop sinning. Okay. In verse number 4, it says, "Ye have not yet resisted unto the blood, striving against sin." So you're striving back and forth with sin. The Hebrew writer is telling you that you have not yet resisted unto blood. But if you look at verse 6, it says, "For whom the Lord loveth, He chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom He receiveth." So the Lord is chastening you because you are a son whom He receives. Accept that. And then you look at verse 7, "If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?" So you should feel grateful that you're going through that deep sorrow and pain in your heart when you commit that sin, because this is the beginning stages of that godly sorrow that's working in you. So if we look at that verse 8, it says, "But if ye be without chastisement, wherefore all are partakers, then ye are bastards and not sons." Let's look at that for a quick moment. A lot of Christians out there, they believe they're going through chastisement, which isn't so. And let me explain. See, they in their heart, they believe that we're going to sin anyway. So as a man thinketh, he is, the proverb says. So since they already think that, when they sin, that sorrow that's in their heart, it only lasts but a season. So they are to repeat sin over and over again. But you is different, because you have a godly sorrow within your heart where you want to stop sinning. And you also believe that through the Holy Spirit, you will stop sinning. See, that's the difference with you and them. They out there believe they're going to sin regardless. But see, you know better. You know better. You know that he that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. And in due time, you will stop sinning. So I encourage you to remain, to keep going, to keep moving forward. And remember the promises that God has already revealed to you through his word. If you look at verse 9, it says, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the fathers of spirits and live? For verily, for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure. So look at how he used the example of fathers chastising their children. You know, as a father, when you chastise your child, you don't chastise your child forever. That chastising stops when they become of age where they are obeying you in all things. For this is how the chastising of God works. He is chastising you until you come to that partaker of his holiness. As verse 10 clearly says. It says, but he for our profit. So God is chastising you for our profit. And then it says that we might be partakers of his holiness. So that we can be partakers of his holiness. Once we are partakers of God's holiness, we are now walking upright in God's Holy Spirit, not sinning against him ever again. If you can briefly look at 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 4, it says, whereby are given unto us exceeding great precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in this world through lust. When you have become a partaker of God's holiness and his divine nature, you have escaped the corruption that is in this world through lust. You have escaped sin. It is no longer a part of your life. This is what you must focus on. Focus on being a partaker of his divine nature, of his holiness. Because when you have become that, then now you are able to walk upright and holy without sin. Let's keep that in mind, and I want to end with verse number 11 and 12 and a part of 13. It says, now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous. Now no chastising for the present seems to be joyous, but grievous, he said. Nevertheless, afterward. That is what you focus on. Nevertheless, afterward, it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So let's remember that. Afterward, it will yield forth that peaceable fruit of righteousness. And once it yields forth that peaceable fruit of righteousness, you are now a partaker of God's holiness and divine nature, where you can obey him in all things. Glory be to God for the Holy Spirit. Thank you. Well, in 12, I continue to encourage you. When you do sin, lift up your hands, it says, which hang down in your feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet. Continue in the faith. Continue pressing forward. Continue in those promises that God has already revealed. For your suffering in the flesh eventually will have you cease from all sin. I pray that you can take this and apply this to your life. I pray that God will free you from sin. If you need any prayers, contact me and let me know. I will pray hard for you, because I know God will free you as long as you continue in his word. Thank you.